Hi, my name is Dominic James Murray and I'm CEO and Independent Financial Advisor at Cameron James. I've been working in the UK pension transfer industry for 10 years now, and welcome to the channel. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about how do you find the best pension transfer specialist. So this is quite a complicated topic, and what does it actually mean? Best final salary pension transfer specialist. So a final salary pension transfer specialist is an individual who has an in-depth understanding and knowledge of final salary pensions. Now, there's also the differentiation between final salary pensions and defined contribution pensions. So with a defined contribution pension, this is more of a simple UK pension scheme. If the pension pot is, for example, worth £250,000, it may go up or down in value with market performance. However, in a year's time, if the markets have gone up by 10%, the pension pot will be worth £275,000. If the markets have gone down slightly, it will be worth less. There's not too much involved in this pension scheme, and it's more simple for you to make a decision on your own as to whether or not you should transfer this pension. In fact, with a defined contribution scheme, you do not need legally to have advice from a final salary pension specialist, because obviously it's a defined contribution scheme. The government still deems individuals able and appropriate to make their own independent decisions on defined contribution schemes. Now, to caveat that, for our expat clients who are living outside the UK, it may well be that you cannot make the decision yourself, because the majority of SIPP providers in the United Kingdom do not accept non-UK residents. The reason for this is that 99.9% of their clients are there on their doorstep. Why do they need to start working with clients in Dubai, clients in America, clients in France? It's kind of complicated for them, and it goes against their main target market of people in the UK. So ultimately, for a defined contribution scheme, if you're an expat and living abroad, you likely still need to use a pension expert to understand what your best options are and where you should be transferring your capital. Now, on the other side of the equation, defined benefit, final salary schemes, those terms are interchangeable, means the same thing. Final salary, defined benefit, and DB, they all mean the same thing, your UK final salary scheme. With a pension like this, the UK government has set it in law that you must take advice from a pension transfer specialist as to whether or not a transfer is in your best interests or not. Now, I could do a video for 1 hour on the different factors which go into whether or not a transfer might be suitable for you, but this will depend upon a number of factors, not only to do with your UK scheme, which include what cash equivalent transfer value are they offering? What is the deficit of the UK scheme? That means, is it underfunded? Is there any likelihood that it might not be able to meet its obligations? This is a really key point at the moment. Final salary schemes don't exist anymore because they were too good a value for the employee. On the other side of the equation, where the transfer specialist should really be looking into is your own individual situation. Every client is completely different. Some clients are very conservative and they need to manage their final salary scheme very carefully, or perhaps even leave it where it is in the UK to ensure they get a guaranteed income in life. The other side of the equation, you might have individuals who want to transfer their pension to have more advantages. So for example, having greater control over where the capital is invested. For example, they may want to follow an active management strategy or a passive management strategy, or typically even a blend of the two together, which we do a lot here at Cameron James. They want to try and outperform the UK pension scheme, and they're relatively comfortable taking those financial decisions with their financial advisor. So that's a good example why someone might want to use it. Now, another reason is currency. If you're living abroad, you don't necessarily want your retirement income to be in GBP, because of your retirement incomes are going to be in a different currency. So the pension transfer specialist should really be analysing both sides of this equation to come together with a conclusion for yourself in black and white of whether or not a final salary pension is in your best interests or not. Now, unfortunately, as you can imagine, if you have Mr. Financial Advisor and you have Mr. Client here, he has his final salary scheme, and the advisor only makes money if he transfers his final salary scheme to the financial advisor's firm, and then they get their ongoing advice fee as well. Now, in many situations, this is correct. The pension should be transferred and the IFA should manage it, and the client might have a better outcome. However, in many examples, Potentially, a client should leave their pension pot in the UK with their final salary scheme. As the FCA has been extremely clear to us over bulletins and bulletins again, we must start off from the assumption that a final salary pension transfer is not in your interests. Whatever the expert's level of expertise, that is the basis that they have to start from. Following that, they either add information to confirm that yes, it should stay where it is, or they have to find information to actually say, well, actually, I think it would be in a client's interest to complete a transfer. So the point I'm getting to here is there's obviously a conflict of interest between the financial advisor and between the client. If the financial advisor is the one writing your report and advising you to transfer your pension and ultimately having control over that decision, he is also the one that's going to benefit from your setup fee, transfer fee, or your ongoing charges. This is something which is really difficult. This doesn't mean to say that all financial advisory firms who write DB reports and then are going to manage the money are bad, not at all. But it's just saying that a conflict of interest does arrive there. So, for example, at Cameron James, for the past 5 years, we have ensured that this is completed independently. So, for example, I'm Dominic, your independent financial advisor. I'm advising you as to what you should do with your money and how you should manage it on an ongoing basis. However, in order to have the report written, the FCA DB report, we will have that completed independently of ourselves. This means that we cannot have any control over the outcome of that report. All we can do is go through your situation with you, find out what your transfer rationale is, what your appetite for risk is, all these factors which might factor into it. We then pass over that information, but after that, we can't control the end result. So the result that you'll get from the final salary report from us will be completely independent. So this allows you to remove from your head of thinking, well, hang on, what if my financial advisor is only giving me this advice? They can have advice fees and have assets under management. So that's something which you should potentially look out for in financial advisory firms when they complete the report in-house as well. Now, in fairness, in the UK, this is very common practice because the FCA has said to UK firms, well, hang on, if you have all the ability to do the pension transfer yourself, why are you using someone else to do it? So if you're working outside with firms outside of the UK as well, you need to factor that in. So basically that gives you a bit of an explanation as to what a final salary pension transfer person is. Now, how do you find the best one? So if you type it into Google, I'm sure you will get many results. Unfortunately, it's going to come down to a bit of hard work. Now, if this is a significant asset of yours, which it probably is, for many people, their final salary scheme is maybe worth the same as their house or possibly even more than their house. It is time to do a bit of homework on it. So you need to start doing your research and understand that the company you work with is ticking all of the boxes. So what do I mean in terms of ticking the boxes? So for example, number one, you always need to start off by ensuring that your advisor and the advisory firm is correctly regulated. For example, at Cameron James, we're regulated by the SEC in the US. We're regulated by the FCA in the UK. We're on the FCA register, so are all of our financial advisors. In Europe, we have a MiFID license as well to conduct business. So that's a really key part. Now, this will depend upon where you're based in the world. If you're living in the US, you really need to work with a firm who's both SEC and FCA regulated. It means that they understand both sides of the equation. But ultimately, you need to make sure that you're working with a company or financial advisor who is regulated in your country of residency. I have a lot of clients who say to me, I only want to work with an FCA regulated firm for my final salary pension transfer. Now, yes, that's good, but really you should also ensure that they're SEC regulated. That means they're regulated in your state to give advice. The second thing you need to check is your financial advisor even qualified? What are his financial qualifications? What is his background? Where did he study? What was his university? Has he entered the financial game 2 years ago and previous to that he was a car salesman or he was doing something else? Nothing against car salesmen, but if they've only been given final salary advice for 2 years and they don't have any real qualifications behind them, perhaps it's not going to be the best financial advisor for you. The third way to understand if someone is good for you or not is to ask them, can I talk to your existing clients? Do you have any testimonials that I can read? So for example, at Cameron James, we have PDF testimonials for all our clients to understand who we previously worked with in the past. You can also visit our Google review page to understand that. But if you're working with another advisory firm, if they don't have either of those, just ask your financial advisor, can I talk to someone in the same city? Or can I talk to someone in the same age range? Or have you worked with anyone in my previous company before? Your financial advisor, if they're good and if they're in the industry and doing the right thing, they should have a number of clients like this who they can put you in touch with. Obviously, it's important to note it's always at that client's discretion. The financial advisor will have to get the authority to share their information with you, but that's a very good way of checking. Now, in terms of other parts of due diligence, it's really about looking at the company and understanding how is it set up, what are their response times like, do they get in touch with you quickly, how accurate are their emails, how accurate is their paperwork, because when you're completing the paperwork, if your financial advisory firm makes a mistake, it's going to be costly in terms of time on your side, could lead to extra forms and stuff being needed. So that would be my summary in terms of the best ways to find a final salary pension transfer expert. As I've mentioned, we have got other videos which are in relation to this topic, and the thing you really need to look out for as well is in terms of fees. Now, in the United Kingdom, commission was banned in the RDR review nearly a decade ago now. What that means is that financial advisors in the UK have to be 100% transparent with their clients of what fees and charges they will get if you go ahead with this business. Sounds pretty usual. You get to understand what you paid if they transfer your pension. Now in the UK, that's gospel. It's the law. It's how all financial advisors work, and it's how Cameron James work. Even if we're working with a client in a different part of the world, we will always stick to that UK mentality. However, other advisors, whether it be in Europe or parts of America, wherever they are, there isn't a commission ban on them, which means they might not charge you anything for that initial advice. Now, there's no such thing as a free lunch in any industry, and I can tell you now in financial advice, there's certainly no free lunch. Having regulation, being protected, having security is extremely expensive as an advisory firm. So that should always be a bit of a red flag to you if your advisor is not going to be charging you an upfront fee. Always ask your advisor to be very transparent about exactly how much money they're going to earn. About 40% of the final salary pension transfers we do at Cameron James come from when the client has already researched the whole of the market, they found a financial advisor which they're working with, and then something happens in that relationship. I've heard it 3 or 4 times already this year, we're already just got past the first quarter, where they said they got down to the final paperwork, and then lo and behold, in the paperwork, there was a terms and conditions which said your financial advisor is going to be paid £20,000 or £30,000 commission from this transaction. Sounds like a lot of money, £20,000 or £30,000, but a typical commission could be 7%. So actually, if someone's transferring a £1 million pension, your advisor could well be receiving a commission of around £70,000. Now, the fact that it's even in the paperwork now is a step forward. 5 years ago, it wouldn't have been in the paperwork and you would have no chance to understand about that, but it could lock you into a very long exit penalty of 5, 8 or 10 years with that solution. So that's something to be very careful of. Always make sure you're paying for your advice in advance. So for example, with Cameron James, the only people who pay us are our clients. We have no vested interest in what solution we use. So for example, an international SIPP, there are many international SIPP providers in the industry, and there are some which are leading the market at the moment at a low cost. We will only select the ones which offer you the best value for money, service, security, protection, whatever the factors might be. So very important point there in terms of cost. And at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong within the first 2 minutes of your conversation with your financial advisor. Ask them about cost straight away. If your financial advisor is not willing to discuss cost, then there's something not quite right there. I know from running the company how difficult final salary pension transfers are and how long they can go on for, and the expertise which needs to be involved in that. I have absolutely no qualms over the fees that we charge our clients and know how much work goes into it. So that's a very important point, and I think I'm going to finish on that point now. So I hope you found today's video valuable, and you can find below all of our due diligence that I mentioned, the Financial Times, etc. All the links for you to do your due diligence on ourselves. And if you wish to reach out to me directly, you can do so via my Calendly link to book into my diary, or you can also contact me on WhatsApp should you wish. And obviously remember to subscribe if you found this video valuable and you'd like to see more. Have a great day. I look forward to seeing you on our next video.